Hey, Vlad here, devinsideyou.com. Welcome to the second and last part of the WSL series. In the previous video, we have seen my setup, and today we're going to replicate it step by step. Let's get right to it. All right, now before we get into it, I actually created a gist. Well, actually, it's not a gist, it's a part of a sort of old learning resources repository. It's one file, and the link is going to be down in the description with all the written down instructions of everything that we're going to do today. We have the Windows steps, we have the Linux steps, we even have a couple of Visual Studio Code steps. Okay, the link is going to be down in the description. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check the Windows version that we have. Now, Microsoft backports features from time to time, so features even big features like WSL. So checking the version is not super important, but still, since I'm already recording a tutorial, let's do this. The easiest way to do this is by pressing Windows R and typing in WinVer, as in Windows version. The Windows version looks kind of weird. And the first number is when it was released, or technically when it was supposed to be released. And this is not the year 2004, this is the year 2020 and the fourth month, which is April, but technically they released it at the end of May. There were actually a lot of bugs related to it. But this is not the number that we actually care about. We care about these two numbers. All right, and Microsoft backported WSL. So what you should see here is at least 18362, I believe, or 18363, and this number should be at least 1049. Another thing that you could check is by typing diag, as in DirectX Diagnostics, and this window will pop up, and you should check that you have a 64-bit Windows version, and you see here the build number again, and over here as well. I'm not sure what this 0488 is because it's not the number that we're seeing over here. All right, but in any case, whatever numbers you are seeing there, just go and try to enable WSL. There are several ways to do it. You can just open the start menu and start typing something like turn, and you should see some like turn Windows features on or off. You can just open it. It looks like this, or you just do Windows R and type in optional features, and exactly the same window should pop up. Now I'm going to double click all over here so that it's bigger. Now, for WSL1, you need to enable Windows Subsystem for Linux, which is this one. For WSL2, you also need to enable the, where is it? The virtual machine platform. And if you're on a pro version, again, you can check this over here, and WinVer, you can see that I have the pro version. You might also want to enable Hyper-V. You might actually need to enable Hyper-V. Okay, if you're in the home edition, Hyper-V is not going to be available. However, as soon as you enable the virtual machine platform, it should still work just fine. Then just press OK, and if Windows is going to detect any changes, you're going to be asked to restart, and you should. As a reminder, you can run only one hypervisor. Hyper-V is a hypervisor. You can run only one of them, and as a reminder, if you're still playing with VirtualBox like I was, this is like a migration guide, then as a reminder over here, you need to be sure to select the Hyper-V power virtualization as well. You do this by right-clicking, going into the settings, clicking on System, going to Acceleration, and changing it from, it's probably going to be default, changing it to Hyper-V. And as I already mentioned in the previous video, this makes the virtual machines pretty much unusable, but at least this is the only way how they will even boot, and hopefully this will improve in the future. Another side note, if you're sort of hopping back and forth, like for example, what I was doing is I actually, because Hyper-V was like making it so unusable, I actually left it on default, which is KVM, I believe. And then I was basically going back and forth and like disabling those flags, rebooting. It sort of felt like I was dual booting, okay, and going back. And so what I want to say is that sometimes, for some reason, one reboot is not enough, right? So sometimes, like I rebooted once, and then my VM wouldn't start, and I got scared, but then I just rebooted again because Microsoft, and then it worked. Okay, right. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go and just install one of them. Okay, so there are multiple ways to do this, but the preferred way is to go through the Windows Store. You can actually go to the documentation for for WSL, and there will be like a list with portable versions. Why did I say portable? I think that's what the section was saying. Anyway, there will be like a list of the versions. However, this list is shorter than what you can find in the Windows Store. So if you go to Store, Microsoft Store, Then you can click on search and just type in WSL, start the search, and we should find a couple of distributions. And we're going to go with Ubuntu 20.04 LTS today. But as you can see, there are others, and some of them I believe actually cost something. Let's see. I saw something somewhere that that costed something. Doesn't really matter. Today we're going to go with Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. So if you click over here, the button, as you can see, was saying install, or sometimes it says get, and now it says launch, even though I don't have it installed. Okay, so if I open the Windows terminal and if I do WSL LV, then you're going to see that none of them are called Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, this is, by the way, as a reminder from the previous video, this is how, well, actually, maybe I didn't mention it, but this is how Windows compares them to each other, right? So if it sees that the name is already taken, then it thinks that it's already installed. Now, what we're seeing over here is actually a bug in the store. In fact, if I click on launch, it's actually going to start installing it. Okay, so this is just a bug, and in fact, there is a way to clear the cache of the Microsoft Store, and I actually did it, but it didn't really help. Okay, so when we're installing it, the font is kind of small, but don't worry about it. We're going to switch to Windows Terminal in any case in a couple of seconds. So I'm going to call my my user just Vlad, and I'm going to create a password, confirm the password, and there we go. We're inside. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna point out is the prompt. The prompt looks normal. In a couple of seconds, it's not gonna look normal. In a couple of seconds, we're gonna log in again, and we're gonna see that where the user was switched to the root user, and I'm gonna show you how to fix it. Okay, so for now, I'm just gonna exit it like this. As you can see, the button still says launch, and if you click on launch, it will just exit like this. All right, let me close it again. As I already mentioned in the previous video, it's kind of annoying that we're not even being asked like where to install it to, or what the size of the hard drive should be. Like we're being asked nothing. We just click and bam. So as I already mentioned in the previous video, it feels still like just a shell. It's like this tiny thing. Now it installed this thing into here. So if you go to user profile, and by the way, this is how you access environment variables in Windows, by using the % symbol in the beginning and the % symbol in the end. So if you go over here, and if you just sort them by date modified, and in this case it's Ubuntu by the Canonical Group Limited, which is why we're seeing over here Canonical Group Limited Ubuntu 20.04 on Windows. If we go in there, and if we go into, I believe, local state, we're going to see ext4 vhdx. Right now, this shows us that this is already the WSL2 version. In fact, if I open a terminal, I'm going to use Windows Terminal. And if I do this again, we're seeing that the version is 2. Okay. Also, you can at any point in time you can do WSL -H to see the help. And as you can see, you can set the default version. And because I set the default version to 2, what we just installed was the second version. And I saw it because it was a virtual hard drive. I'm sorry, I was pointing at the wrong one. See here, the set default version. This is like the set default distribution. As a reminder, like in my case, the default distribution is space. All right, let's exit from here, and I want to check the size. As we can see, it's like around 1 gig. Right, so this is like the minimal version of Ubuntu. And the first thing we're gonna do, like even like before we like properly go into it, we're gonna move it. Okay, so let me go into the Windows terminal again, and I'm gonna do this. Okay, so it's over here, Ubuntu 20.04, and it's stopped. Like as you can see, like all of them are stopped. By the way, I should probably also show you how to install the Windows terminal. You just go to the Microsoft Store, which we already have over here. You just type in Windows terminal. Okay, this one. Come on, load. As you can see, first it was saying installed, then I realized that I have it installed, and now we're seeing the launch button. So if I press it, it's gonna be over here, and you can also find it under the same deal. So it's over here, local, but then you need to go into Microsoft, and inside of Microsoft you're going to see Windows apps over here, and over here this is the WTEXE, and this entire folder is actually on the path. So at any point in time, which is what I was doing before, I would just type in WT and it was just starting this exe. Okay, Now, it is always starting in full screen. So let me actually do this. I want to show you a couple more things. So one of the cool things about Windows Terminal is that it actually shows you like your VMs over here. But honestly, I'm never using it because it's super simple. Like for example, this one is called Space. If I want to get into it, I just do WSL hyphen D space, and then bam, I'm inside of it. Okay. There we go. It asks me to unlock my key. Let me actually exit. Okay. And this is how you, so over here, you see that was verbose. You see that it's running now, so you can terminate it like this with a T. Okay, so now it's going to say that it's stopped, and also you can let's go in there again, like this, and yes. I probably typed it wrong. Oh no, it's okay. Okay, so again it's running, and let's actually also run another one. Forgot the thing. The full name is Dev like this. Okay, that's my key. Okay, exit. All right, so again, so now two of them are running, and the way you shut it down, you can shut all of them down, right? So it just terminates all of them, shut down. Okay, like this. Right, and let me go up like this, and there we go, all of them are stopped. And as a reminder, you can always do WSL -H, oh my god, -H, and you can see exactly what I just did. I did the terminate. We're going to do unregister in a couple of seconds. All right. Now, about the Windows terminal, so this is a cool thing that I can show you this. You can also open the settings, and you can also do Alt click on this, and it will open the default settings. And we're actually going to do this. So if I'm going to do Alt click, it actually just opened the default settings on my second screen in Sublime. As you can see, it's over here. I'm actually not even going to bring it over here because we're going to open it in VS Code. Okay, and I'm going to click without holding the Alt. Okay, so now I have both of them open on my second screen, and I'm just gonna copy the file path, and I'm going to just paste the file path over here, and I'm gonna remove the default.json, and I'm just gonna open this this folder. Okay, so this is where it is. Okay, but like you can do exactly what I just did, like it opened with Sublime. Okay, so this is the defaults.json. What I want to show you is that if you open it actually with VS Code, and then you're going to get auto completion in this file. Okay, so for example, over here it says like launch mode, default, and if I remove default, I can do control space, and it should have shown me auto completion. I'm not sure why it doesn't. Maybe it's because it's the default settings. Discard. Okay, hold on. Let me close this one. Let me actually grab the other one, the one that the regular settings. I'm gonna copy the file path. Close this. Actually, we can also close this. I'm gonna do paste over here. Okay, it's in a different folder. It's this file called settings.json, and we're gonna do the same trick. Open with VS Code. All right, and now over here it should say full screen, and see, okay, we have default, full screen, maximize. Okay, so what you would usually do is you would just copy over the default settings, and by the way, remember, like in the previous video I said that I don't even have Git installed, and so the Git Lens extension says that it couldn't find Git. Okay, because I'm doing like all the development stuff I'm doing like inside of virtual machines before, and now inside of WSL. So what you would usually do, you would open the default settings, you would copy it over to the to this file, change all the things. In fact, I'm going to show you one more thing that I changed is at the bottom I have the key bindings because some of them were colliding with things like Biobu. This is how you disable them. Okay, you just command like null, or I believe you can also use undefined. Okay, but I don't want to focus this video on Windows Terminal. I already spent way too much time on it. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to open the Windows Terminal again, like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the directory to the place where all of my machines are, which is in business and WSLs. Okay, so PowerShell also understands things like ls. Okay, so these are the things that I have inside over here. Okay, so now I'm going to do WSL-H, and we're going to look at the export command, which is over here. Right, you just export the distribution name. It's the one that we have seen, was the Ubuntu thing, and how we want to name the file. Okay, so again, okay, so we want to export this one, so we just say export, and we're saying Ubuntu 20.04, and I'm going to call it Ubuntu underscore backup. You can call it however you want. It doesn't need an extension, but you can pretty much use this as a backup. Okay, so let me actually minimize this before I actually do this. So we're going to go over here. So this is where we are, and I'm going to actually position it like this and like this. So I'm going to press enter, and it's going to start exporting it into this file over here. It should take, I mean, it's just 1 gig. Okay, so it should take, I don't know, maybe 20 seconds or so. All right, so as you can see, it finished. It's now over here. And before we do anything else, I actually want to go into, I believe over here, was it, right? So I want to open this thing, okay? And I want to, well, actually, I don't want to open it yet, okay? So I want to have it like this. It went to my second screen, so I want to have it like this. So what I want to do now is I want to call the unregister function, okay? Because we don't need it, like we're moving it, okay? So I'm just going to do unregister, and I'm going to do Ubuntu 20.04. Okay. So what I want to show you is that this folder is still going to stay there. You know, can I refresh? No. Going back inside. So the folder still stays there. However, if you go into local state, you're going to see that the virtual drive is not there anymore. Okay. Great. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to, just for fun, go again and install it, because I want to show you that it's going to be installed in exactly the same folder. Come on. Okay, yeah, it was there. Why didn't you find it? I wanted this one. Yes. All right. So let's launch. Right, so as you can see, it installed exactly into the same folder, even though it's like technically still being installed. As you can see, the hard drive is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm gonna do the same, whatever, and I'm actually gonna close it, and I'm going to unregister it again because we don't really need it, because we have a backup. Okay, so let me unregister it again, and as you can see, the hard drive just went bye-bye. Okay, so let's close this and actually import it. Okay, so I'm already in the correct directory. Okay, Control L, it clears the whole thing. If I go to help again, we're gonna look at the import command, which is there we go, import. Okay, so we need to specify the distribution, which is going to be the new name basically. Then we're going to have the install location, which is going to be the name of one of these folders. It's going to be the same, and the file name, which is our backup. We can also specify the version. However, in my case, the default version is already going to be 2. And so I don't need to do anything. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do import, and I'm already in this directory. Okay, so I'm going to call it playground, and the directory is also going to be called playground, and the file that I'm going to use is going to be Ubuntu underscore backup. Okay, that's all. I'm pressing enter. So if you go over here into playground, see it already imported. It just copied the virtual hard drive in there. Okay, now if I do this, I should see it over there, playground. Awesome. So this is how you create, how you move distributions around, and also how you can create multiple versions of them, right? You basically, we can basically just import it again. Okay, so I'm just going to import it. I'm going to call it second. I'm going to use exactly the same backup. Okay, so it's just going to go and import it over here, right? So now I have 2 of them. Okay, and LV, there we go. By the way, this list doesn't always update, right away. You need to restart Windows Terminal. Let me unregister. No, I want to keep the playground. Unregister second one. Okay, so if I go inside, the hard drive is just gone. Now we can also remove the folder. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm actually going to go back to the settings, which might still be open in my Visual Studio Code. Are they? No, they are not. All right, so let me press Control comma, and it opened in my Sublime. Well, actually, I can keep them open in Sublime. Let me actually just do this. All right. So how do I remove the menu? Okay. In any case, if you go down over here, it actually has a list of all the distributions that you have, and of all the shells that you have. So for example, you have the PowerShell, you have the CMD.exe, you have the Azure Cloud, and now I have my work, I have my space, I have my dev inside you, and I just wanted to show you that it doesn't always keep this list up to date. So sometimes you need to go over here and clear it. Maybe actually if I close the Windows terminal and I open it again. Okay, so this list refreshed, maybe this file refreshed as well. Did it? It didn't. Okay, so sometimes you need to go and help it out. Maybe if I close it and open it again, let's see. No, somehow it didn't refresh. Okay. In any case, like we actually deleted this one. There we go, like this. Okay, I just wanted to show you that it has, like, one of the things that it has is this starting directory which goes into here. Okay, so if we just open it, and it doesn't open because we don't need these two. Cannot access. Okay, probably because we need to go inside first. Let's go into playground. Okay, let's try this again. It cannot access it. Why not? It should be able. Oh, it's because it's like it has like all of these backslashes. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, playground and home and blah over here. Okay, this is going to become important in a couple of seconds. Okay, now all right, so let's start looking at it. So the first thing, as you can already notice, first of all, we're seeing like this typical output that you would see like on typically on like server installations of Ubuntu, where you're like connected and it shows you like basically shows you what's up, shows you some information, how many processes are running, what's your IP address and blah blah blah. And it says that you can disable it by creating this file .hash login. Okay, but for some reason we're being logged in as root, and in order to fix that, which is the first thing that we're going to do to fix it, we're going to go to by the way, things like vim and git are already installed, so we're going to go into so we're going to do sudo vim. Even though we're root, I'm still going to do sudo vim. We're going to go into /etc/wsl.conf. Okay, and we need to make sure that over here we have user, and over here we're going to have default equals Vlad. Okay, like this, or basically your user. Okay, so I'm going to write and quit. Okay, I'm going to close it. Is it still running? That's an interesting question, and it is still running. Okay, so let's see if we try to just connect it again. Playground, still root. Okay, so it means that we actually need to shut it down like this. Okay, connect it again. Okay, and as you can see, we're now in my home folder as Vlad. The other thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to go back to the settings on my Windows terminal. We're going to make sure that the first directory that I'm connected to is going to be my home folder and not the home folder from Windows. And by the way, this is where the drives are mounted, right? So if you do mnt/d, for example, and this is going to be my my D hard drive. So let me open up these settings again, and let me bring them into this screen. Okay, so I'm just going to go down and I'm going to find playground, and actually I already have these settings. This is weird. Like, this is the thing that I was talking about before. So this ID, and by the way, I actually have no idea how to find out the ID of the instance. But anyway, in the preparation for this video, I was creating a virtual machine, and I was creating a WSL2 instance, and I called it Playground. Okay, and so because of this, it kind of stayed, right? Because it manages them by name. So let me actually try to remove it. Okay, and as you can see, it was regenerated for me, and so now probably the ID changed. Okay, and now as you can see, the starting directory is not even there. So I'm just going to duplicate this line, going to bring it down. Let's not forget the comma because it's JSON, and let's also not forget to change this. Okay, in fact, when I was when I started working with WSL2, I duplicated this line, and it was a typical copy paste mistake, and I didn't notice that I forgot to change one of these. And then what happened was, when I was like starting this machine, it was also behind the scenes starting this machine as well, which is kind of curious. All right, so let's close this. And so what it means now is that if like, even if I close it, if I terminate it, if I connect it now, it is not going to see my setting. Okay, all right, because the setting was just as a very specific Windows terminal setting. And by the way, like all the Windows terminal things that I'm showing it to you, they're obviously not going to work in a different terminal, like Electricity, for example. However, if we go and click over here and we click on Playground, then it's actually going to work. It is going to work, and it's going to open it in my home folder, which is good enough for us, as we will see a bit later. Okay. Let's close this one. Another sort of like annoying thing that we're seeing here is this line to run a command as administrator, user root, use sudo. I believe that in order to get rid of it, is actually enough to run one of the sudo commands. So if we do something like apt update, it never hurts to actually update your machine. Okay, so this just updates the cache of the apt packages, and now we're gonna do, come on, finish. Come on, there we go. So now we're gonna do -y full upgrade. All right, there we go. Should probably take it should probably take a minute because I never know like how often they package a new version and then put it on the to the Windows Store. Okay, but it's WSL2, so it's kind of fast, and I'm running on an SSD and I have a fast connection, so it should actually finish in just a couple of seconds. And there we go. And also what I prefer to do is this, which is auto remove. All right, great. So now I believe if we terminate it, playground, and go inside again, then we should not see this line. Yeah, we're not seeing this line. Okay, cool. So one thing that we're going to do is, again, it's specific to Windows Terminal. So what we can do is, let me actually go out and let me actually terminate it. Okay, let me actually close this entire terminal and also close this way. We actually don't need it anymore. So if I show my desktop icons, if I right click at any point, I'm going to do new and I'm going to do a shortcut. Then I can just do, for the location, I'm just going to do WT for Windows Terminal, and I'm going to do next. And it's going to be saying type a name for the shortcut. I'm going to call it playground. Okay. And now if I do a right click over here and go to properties, and over here in the target, I'm just going to do -p, right? Not D, -p, and then I'm going to do playground. And then what's going to happen is that if I double click this, it's going to open the Windows Terminal, and it's going to go and connect straight into the playground VM. We're not seeing it over here, by the way, because as already mentioned in the previous video, it always, the host name is always the Windows host name, and my Windows host name is Agile Nomad. Okay, and this is going to be the first thing that that we're actually going to change after I show you that as I showed you in the previous video. If we go, so I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to go into properties, and I'm going to go into advanced system settings, and I'm going to go into environment variables, and I'm going to see this path for my user, and I'm going to go into edit, and over here I have one of these folders. This is my folder with a bunch of shortcuts. So if I go in there, which is this folder, and I just paste this shortcut, okay, so I just pasted it in there. So now, because this folder is on the path, okay, I can at any point in time, I can just do Windows R, I can just type in playground, I press enter, and bam, it just started, which is really awesome. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into my bash rc. So in my other VMs, I'm going to call them VMs. It's just, I'm just used to call them VMs. So in my other ones, I'm running ZSH, and so the only thing you can do here is you can basically just change your prompt. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this with bash rc, because with ZSH, your prompts are always different, and you can do it however you want. So I'm going to go into bash rc. And around line 60, you're going to see this. If color prompt yes, then this is going to be your prompt. Otherwise, this is going to be your prompt. And inside of it, you have this /h, which is the host name. Okay. So all we need to do is we need to go and find this h. And over here, we just need to go into the insert mode, delete these, and we can put whatever you want. Okay. So I'm going to put playground. Okay. The same thing over here. Let's just go over here. And I'm just gonna do like this, playground, like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna do right quit. Okay, get out of there, playground, and there we go. Vlad at playground. Okay, so we didn't really change the host name, right? It's just a prompt. All right, for my next trick, I'm gonna need my SSH keys, and I already prepared them, and they're just laying around in my D folder. They're zipped. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install unzip, like that. All right, and the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I'm in the home folder, and I am, and I'm going to do unzip from /mount D, and I just have this zip laying around in there, so I'm just going to unzip it. Okay, so as you can see, I have the SSH folder in there right now with my keys. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go out like this, and I'm going to create a dev folder, and I'm going to cd into it. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone one of my repositories, because what I want to show you is that because it's a minimal version of Ubuntu, we don't have any SSH keys management here. Okay. So tagless final git. Okay. So now I need to unlock my key. Okay. So usually, like in a regular Ubuntu installation, because your key is unlocked, if you go and do, let me actually cd in there. Okay, so if I do like git pull, it shouldn't ask me for the key again. Okay, but it does. Okay, and if I do again, it's gonna keep asking me. Okay, so it doesn't cache my key. Okay, and in order to fix that, we just need to install a teeny tiny little tool called keychain. Keychain, like this. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into my profile again, which is in the home folder. I'm gonna go to the bottom. Okay, and I'm just gonna enter the following keychain. Right, so please run the keychain with these flags, no GUI, and run it quietly. Okay, then go into my home directory, home, like this, into .sh, into ID RSA, which is my private key. Okay, and then after this, please source the following: home dot keychain. Okay, then please get out my host name, and as a reminder, my host name is Agile Nomad, and then hyphen sh, not .sh, hyphen sh. Okay, so right quit, like this. So if I exit now, if I run it again, what's going to happen is the first thing that is happening is enter the passphrase. Okay, so I'm entering the passphrase like this. I'm going into dev, I'm going into tagless final, I'm doing git pull, and it's not going to ask me for the key. And again, it's not going to ask me for the key. All right, for my next trick, we're going to kill two birds with one stone. One issue that we have is, GUI applications, they're just not, they're just not running. And another issue is the clipboard sharing. Okay, now this is a Windows terminal, right? So this is just a regular terminal. So if I go into Vim, and I open profile, okay, I just opened like some random file. Okay, so if I just mark some code over here and I do Control-Shift-C, obviously it's going to copy it, right? I go to Notepad and we're going to paste it. It worked just fine. And the same as, if we do like blah, and I'm just going to copy it over here, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go into insert mode over here, and I'm going to do Control-Shift-V, it's going to work. Okay, but this is not how you usually work in Vim. In Vim, you usually copy and paste in the normal mode. Okay, so let me undo all of that stuff. So usually in Vim, you would, go over here and, mark these lines, and then you would press Y, and it would copy it. As you can see, it says 4 lines yanked. Okay, and then you would go, to the bottom of the file, and you would paste this, and as you can see, they were pasted. Okay, now the first thing that we need to know is that Vim itself needs to be configured as the first step to share the clipboard with Linux. Okay, so for example, if I go over here and I yank two of these lines, which did it do that? Why doesn't it show me that 2 lines were yanked? Let's try with these ones. Okay, yank. Okay, 4 lines yanked. I'm not sure why it didn't show it to me over there. In fact, let's grab something else just in case. Okay, so let's grab this if expression. Okay, so I'm going to do yank. Okay, 6 line yanked. Okay, so now if I exit Vim, and I'm going to try Control-Shift-V, as you can see, it still pastes the blah. Okay, so the first thing that we need to solve is that the clipboard is actually not being shared with Vim. In fact, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the stuff in NeoVim, because this is the one that I'm using, and I know how to configure it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to go install it. And long time ago, I gave up on Linux package managers because they always work differently. They not always have what I need, and sometimes if they don't have it, then somebody else has it, and I can add a source in there. But then a couple of years later, they stop maintaining it. So at some point, I just stopped maintaining. I sort of created like a poor man's package manager. Okay, so if you go into install.devinsider.com, you're gonna find a bunch of install hyphen scripts. Okay, and you can also search them. You can either search over here, or you can just do install.devinsider.com / for example Vim, and it should find. Okay, maybe it's gonna find with Neil. Okay, install Neo. Okay, so now it found NeoVim. Okay, all of my install scripts, first of all, they're working without any warranty. Okay, but it's always like this. You just copy these two lines. The first line just downloads the install script. The second line just runs it. And in this particular case, it pretty much just goes to GitHub, and maybe I can actually zoom in. It just unpacks it into user local bin, I believe. Okay, so I just copy pasted these two lines, and I'm just gonna go over here, and I'm just gonna go and paste it. Oh, that's the thing, that's the thing. I cannot paste it. Well, actually, I should be able to paste it with Control Shift V. Hold on, maybe I did not copy it. Okay, let's copy, and let's go and paste it. Okay, so ta-da, and now I should have NeoVim and Vim. Ta-da, I have it. Okay, great. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to create a directory for the config file. So if I go into config, it doesn't exist, really. All right, so I'm going to do make directory p.config and vim like this. Let's actually go there, config and vim, and I'm going to create a file called init vim. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to do set clipboard equals unnamed plus. Okay, so this is the only line that we need. Okay, and I'm actually going to exit it. And another thing that we need is we need to install a tool called xclip. All right, xclip. Okay, so this should be everything that we need to in order to be able to share stuff between Vim and Linux. However, it's not going to be enough to share the clipboard between Linux and Windows. Okay, so let me open nvim whatever blah. Okay, so I'm gonna type something in. Well, actually, let's type something like hello world. Okay, so I'm gonna exit and I'm gonna save the file. Okay, so let's yank the current line, and I should be able now to close Vim, and I should be able to paste it. And it did not do this. I'm not sure why. It should have been able to do this. Maybe even for this we're gonna need another tool. Maybe it didn't actually yank it. Like I have hold on, why? Okay, if I do P, okay, so it's there. So if I'm gonna quit and I don't care about the changes, Control Shift V. No, for some reason it still doesn't work. Okay, hold on. If we do check health. Okay, then it should tell me that clipboard warning, no clipboard tool found. Oh yeah, okay. So the thing is that if we go into help clipboard, okay, then we're gonna see somewhere that it actually only uses xclip if the display property is set, okay, or if it's actually in if the tmux variable is set. So because I'm usually using tmux, this was actually enough. Okay, in any case, let's actually get out of here and get out of here as well and get out of here as well. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to finish the entire installation, and then it's just going to work out because for the next step we're actually going to need to set this display property. Okay, so as already mentioned in the previous video, there are two ways to have GUI applications. One is to basically install like the entire UI inside of something like Ubuntu, for example, and then connect to it with with a remote connection tool like a TeamViewer or something similar. Another way is to install an X server, which I already have. It's running over here. There are a couple of them. This one is the Xming server. You just download it and you just open it. Come on, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the meantime, I'm actually going to close this one. All right, yes, exit. Okay, so I'm just going to run it, and I'm just going to say next. All the defaults are fine. All the defaults are fine. You for sure need this xlaunch wizard. Okay. Xming, yes, next, yes, create all of that stuff, install, launch Xming. Okay, so if you're going to launch it, okay, in my particular case, it just launched it. This is not what I was expecting. I believe if you don't have it installed, what is going to happen is that it is going to go to program files, and somewhere at the bottom you're going to have xming, and it should have run the launch exe. Okay, so this is the one that you see by default, and you can make your decisions over here. Just make sure to remember the display number. Okay, what I recommend is just leaving it over here as multiple windows. Display number is 0, next, and start no client, next, clipboard, and very important to enable either no access control, or you would need to open the Windows firewall so that the Linux clients can connect to this server. So I'm not going to touch the firewall. I'm just going to click next over here, and very important over here, you can save the configuration. So if we save the configuration, and it's going to be called config.xlaunch. I'm going to save it onto my desktop. Okay, I'm just going to save it. Okay, and now I can do finish, and it's going to start over here. I'm actually going to close it because I want to show you that. Okay, so these are just the shortcuts. Okay, so this configuration is actually an executable file, so you can just double click it and it's just going to start over here. So what I do is I'm actually going to cut it out, and I'm going to open and I'm going to press Windows R, and I'm going to type in shell : startup, and this is the startup directory, and I'm just going to paste it over here. So as you can see, like every time you're going to launch Windows, it's just going to launch this this X server for you. Okay. So let me actually exit it because I believe like sometimes it's important for the server to, for the clients to connect like later. But we actually didn't configure the clients yet. So let's actually go and configure the clients. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into profile, and now that I have nvim installed, I'm going to do like this profile, and let me do full screen. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom, and what I need to do is I need to export this display variable that we have seen in the health check for Vim. Okay, so I'm going to do export display, and the value is going to be a little bit complicated. So we're going to ask to evaluate an expression. Okay, and then once it evaluates, after this we're going to do :0. So the :0 is a display, the one that we have seen during the launch. In fact, maybe we can actually do this again real quick. So if I go to the bottom, xming and launch. Okay, it's this 0 over here, and also it's part of the configuration. So if I go over here and I open this with, I don't know, something like Sublime Text, and it opened in on my other screen. Okay, so as you can see, it's this display 0. Okay, right. So let me close that. Okay, another thing that we need is we're going to export libgl always indirect equals 1, and I'm going to have a link down in the description which explains exactly what this flag is for. Okay, now we're almost done. The only thing that we need to put over here is the IP of the server, and the issue is that a virtual network interface is created for your virtual machines, and again, I'm going to keep calling them virtual machines, and the IP changes every time. So if I go to my network, then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to see this one, v Ethernet WSL. So if I go into properties, and I'm going to go into IPv4, I'm going to go into properties, it is going to be this IP that we actually need. In fact, I'm going to leave this thing over here so that we can compare it later. Now, luckily for WSL, if I actually, let's do, what is it, Control Z? Yeah, so I sent it to background. Yes, Control Z sends it to background. All right, so there's a file, etc resolve conf. Okay, and in this file, this IP will be written. Okay, so all we need to do is we need to have a little bit of Linux magic to go into this file and read out this IP, and this is the magic. Okay, so it goes in there and just copies the IP. Okay, let me actually create a bit more space so that you see. Okay, so all we need to do is we need to go over here, go into the insert mode, paste it over here. Okay, so it's going to take the IP, put it over here, and then it's going to do the :0. Okay, so right quit. Let's actually exit just in case. Let's go close these guys. Close. Let's also close this one. Okay, so let's launch the Windows terminal. Let's actually shut everything down. Okay, like this. Exit, and we're going to do playground. And so the first thing that we should see is after I enter my key is that this display variable display variable. This shows me now the IP, which was taken from etc resolve.conf. Okay, it is exactly this IP, and the display is 0. Okay, which means that if we had a GUI application, it would send stuff to the Xming server over here, and it would display stuff. And the same thing for the clipboard. In fact, if we go into vim was blah, and I'm going to do this check health again, it should now say that the clipboard is configured correctly, okay? Because it says, clipboard tool found xclip, and it was only looking for it because the display variable is set, okay? So now let's get out of here. Okay, so let's, for example, let's just mark, just this word, and I'm gonna yank it. Okay, so now I yanked it, so if I paste it, it's gonna be world, world, world. And now if I go into Notepad, if gods are gonna help me, it should paste it. World. There we go. It worked. And the same as we're going back. Okay, so if I'm gonna say Vlad over here, I'm gonna copy it, and over here, notice that I'm in the normal mode. Okay, I'm actually gonna go into insert, create a couple of lines. Okay, I just press P and it's gonna insert Vlad. Okay, so the clipboard sharing is now working correctly. So the other thing that I'm just gonna demonstrate is that the GUI apps are working normally as well. Okay, so let's close that. Let's go back to my install page, and we're just gonna do install. Okay, let's go back like this, and let's just do Sublime. Okay, so I have install Sublime text. If you don't trust my scripts, you can always just click inside it real quick and see what it does. In this particular case, it just adds the key, it does the apt install and stuff. All right, let's go back over here, go into full screen. I'm gonna paste, press enter, my password, and we're just gonna wait a couple of seconds, and then Sublime is gonna be installed. There we go. So if I just do subl dot, for example, the Xming server should catch it, and as you can see, it just started Sublime in my, oh, that's the Windows thing. Okay, so it just started Sublime in my home folder. All right, let's close it again. And yeah, so we're pretty much actually done. Everything, like all of these like copy paste, like all of these like long commands, you can always take them from here. So this is the stuff that we just did, for example. Okay, I still have a couple of small things to show you. One of them is the reminder that there's no systemd support. So if we install something like Docker, okay, like again, like even Docker, there was an older version in the default repositories. So I'm just gonna paste this. It's gonna install Docker for me. All right, so my script says Docker is now on the path, and I was added to the Docker group so that I can run Docker without sudo. However, the changes to the group are not yet applied, so I need to exec sul blood, enter my password, and now I should be there. Okay, so now I should be able to do Docker run hello world. Okay, and it's just gonna say, hey, can I connect to the Docker daemon, right? Because there's no systemd. Even if I go out, process exit was 125. Really? What? Come on. What is happening to you? Whatever. Let's just close it. That's the beauty of virtual machines. Let's see what's up. It's running. Let's just shut everything down. We don't care. Exit. Go in there again. All right, enter my key. All right, Docker run hello world. Okay, there's no systemd support, so we need to do sudo service docker start. Okay, my password, and now we should be able to run hello world, unable to find image, so it's going to download it, blah, blah, blah. It's going to do the whole Docker thing, and there we go, it worked. And if we do it again, ta-da, the image is already downloaded, Docker PS, all of the things, they are just working. Great. By the way, if you're kind of lazy to do this, then you can also work around this by not having a password, and then just putting it into your .profile so that it would just start it. But I'm not that lazy. Okay. All right. So the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to go into, no, not here, business WSL's playground. Okay, so the drive is now 2.5 gigs basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to shrink it if it doesn't give you the space back. Okay, so I'm going to go inside again. Okay, let's actually minimize it like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy into my home folder from mnt business dev inside you videos, I don't know, some random number, and I'm gonna I'm gonna see. This should be a large file like 220 MOV. Okay, so basically, I'm copying some large file inside of this virtual drive. So in this particular one, should be I don't know, like 10 gigs. Like usually like an hour of recording is like around 10 gigs for me. And so it's going to take a couple of seconds to copy it over. Let's actually, in the meantime, go and check it out. So this is the 185, which is 185. It is this one, yeah. So as already mentioned, it's around around 10 gigs. So even though I have an SSD, and by the way, this is a sort of like a reminder, right? So if WSL2, the IO in WSL2 is actually faster unless you're actually touching the Windows system, right? So I have an SSD and it's copying over this like 10 gigs files, and I've already been talking for what, like a minute or so, and it's still copying. Okay, so if you're frequently using I/O, in such a case, in such a scenario that you have to hop back and forth all the time, then you might as well switch back to WSL1. Okay, which is very easy to do. And by the way, I actually forgot to mention it. So one of the commands over here. One of the commands over here is the set version command, right? So you just set the version to 1, for example. For example, you would do like WSL, set version, and you would say playground, and you would just say 1, and it would convert it to WSL1. And all it would do behind the scenes, it would actually just just export it and then import it back, right? Because it needs to convert, so in this particular case, if you're going from WSL2 to WSL1, it would just convert the virtual hard drive into the Windows file system, right? And then the I/O would be faster. In this particular case, it probably will be instantaneous because it's on the same hard drive, so it would just change the path. In any case, it copied it over. Okay, so it's over here now. As you can see, du disk usage age 220. There we go. So it's the 11 gigs over here. So if we actually close it, then we're going to see that the hard drive now is 13 gigs. Okay, 13 gigs. So if I go in there now, and I'm actually going to remove this file, okay, just remove it. As you can see, it's not there anymore. However, the hard drive is still large, right? So even if we go and close it, right? So if we do a shutdown, okay, it's not just going to magically give up this space, right? As I already mentioned in the previous video, I can refresh and whatever. It's not going to give you this space. Okay, it's very typical for databases, very typical for virtualization solutions. So all you need to do for this is you need to open the PowerShell, and you need to make sure to run it as administrator. You can also right click over here, run it as administrator. Okay, so the font is kind of small. Properties, let's do like 24. All right, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this directory. So I'm going to do D, and I'm going to do CD business WSLs and playground actually as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that everything is shut down. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do optimize. I have tab completion, but it's useless. Yeah, so this is the one we need. Optimize VHD, and I'm going to do path. Okay, and I'm just going to say that in this current directory there is ext4.vhdx. I just pressed tab, it actually auto-completed it, and I'm going to do mode, and I'm going to do full. Okay, so now I'm going to press enter, compacting virtual disk. It shouldn't be that long actually. And there we go. It just went to the original 2 gigs. Amazing. Okay, so now we can run it again. It still works. I actually read that a couple of people had some issues with it. I believe the issues were related to Docker. Okay, so yeah, there we are. Let's close it again. All right, now I actually wasn't planning on doing this, but let's actually do this as well. So if I go to playground again, and I'm going to go into this directory, which is a this is a Scala project. So as a reminder, the path is shared. Well, not shared, it's merged with Windows. And so if I do code dot, right, so I'm starting Visual Studio Code in this directory, it will actually run Visual Studio Code. And the first thing that it notices is that we don't have the server version of Visual Studio Code inside of this WSL. So let me actually minimize it. Okay. So behind the scenes, what it did was installing VS Code server for x64, downloading blah blah blah, unpacking blah blah blah. So every time I update Visual Studio Code on Windows, it would actually go and keep installing something. Okay, so what's happening over here is that now it's connected to WSL Playground, and as already mentioned in the previous video, if it's the first time that you do this, then it will actually offer you to install the WSL remote extension. Okay, so now that it is installed, I want to show you that the extensions that you have installed inside of your Visual Studio Code for Windows, which are over here, they're not automatically installed in your WSL installation, right? So they're, and by the way, they would be installed like per VM. Okay, so in this particular case, it's inside of the playground, and so nothing in there. Now, since this is a Scala project, I need to go to metals over here, and as you can see, there's actually a button, that says, do you want to install it in the WSL Playground? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So I'm clicking it, and now it's installing. Actually can go into full screen now. Okay, reload required. Let's reload. All right. So now it says failed to download metals. Make sure that your connection to Java Home is correct. Now, everything that I'm showing now is sort of related only to Scala and to Java. So in this particular case, if I go into metals, I just want to show you that if you go into extensions, okay, then you're going to see that now you have settings for your user. You also have settings for workspace, the same as you had before, but you also have specific settings for this remote WSL Playground. Okay. So what happens is that in my user settings, I actually specified that this is where my my Java home is. Okay, so if I actually remove it for everything, okay, reset setting, okay, reload window, everything that is happening from now on is just relevant for Scala developers, okay? But now it actually offers me to install JDK 8 or 11, and I'm actually gonna go and I'm gonna install 8. Now it says command failed, permission denied. I'm actually not sure why this is happening. It actually worked before, so let's try this again. There we go. It looks better now. Okay, so it should take a couple of seconds. Downloading metals. So now it actually detected my JVM, which is cool. I can actually close the settings, go into some main file like this. In any case, all I wanted to show you is that VS Code understands that everything that is happening now is happening inside of the VM. If we open the terminal or something, then we're going to see that we're inside of the VM. Okay, so now that metals is installed, it will probably tell me that we should import the build. There we go. Oh, I opened the wrong directory actually. I actually wanted to open just this. There we go. All right, so this particular repository, it actually contained 2 different projects. Let's go into main. Save it. Terminal, and Metal should wake up in just a second and tell me that it wants to import the project. Import build. All right, now I actually don't really care about the remainder of the installation, because now it's going to start installing SPT and all of this stuff, and import the project. I wouldn't really care about this anymore. My laptop started thermal throttling again. Sorry for that. So I had to kill the VS Code instance, but in the preparation for this video, it actually worked out just fine. So I'm sure that it's going to work out just fine. In any case, I finished showing you everything that I wanted to show you, and I hope that if I've forgotten some gotchas, then I'm going to add them to this file over here. I'm going to make sure to keep it a little bit up to date. And I hope that this video saved you some time and also some pain. And also congratulations, you're now the local WSL expert. And yeah, as always, it's been Vlad, devinside.com. Don't forget to like this video if you did, subscribe if you want to improve the developer inside you, and if you learned something today, consider supporting me on GitHub sponsors or Patreon, whatever you prefer, and just watch my videos weeks and sometimes even months before everyone else. But most importantly, take care.